Welcome to SAVITRI summarization. So this morning we are going to discuss on secret knowledge. So the great topic we are going to discuss right now in our SAVITRI summarization, book 1, Canto 4, the secret knowledge. That is a wondrous topic. Of course, we will see it in a very different angles as Sri Aurobindo has described. It is almost a heart-touching topic. That is the topic is secret knowledge. So naturally, the knowledge which is secret. Secret means it is secret from for everybody, not at all open. So many things are there. You will find it here, which are really secret. So we will gather up knowledge. This secret knowledge, it will be helpful in our sadhana, and most of the things, most of the burning issues we will find here. Of course, it has been glorified and gloriously described in the mantric lines of Savitri. We will find it here in the topic, the secret knowledge, book 1, Canto 4, the secret knowledge of Savitri. So here we'll quote, really initially Sri Aurobindo has quoted beautifully in the very first line. On a height he stood. On a height he stood that looked towards greater heights. On a height he stood that looked towards greater height. That is the beginning of the story. We'll find when you are on the surface, you will find that everything is almost confined within our roofs. So when you are freed and liberated, and of course you are elevated, you are going ascending, you are climbing up, you will find so many plateaus are there, so many layers are there. It is a vast sky which is spreading, which has no limit. Sky is no limit, you know. So our early approaches to the infinity, we will find here. That's after the liberation of the soul, Sri Aurobindo, of course, Ashwapati has found. So, Sri Aurobindo quotes here in the initial step, a death-bound littleness is not all we are. A death-bound littleness is not all we are. Maybe some people are there, they have taken it for granted that jatasya hi dhruvang mrityu. Whenever there is a birth, there is definitely a death as a close. So Sri Aurobindo here quotes, a death-bound littleness is not all we are. Death-bound and littleness. Exactly what you are then, just opposite. Immortal, our forgotten vastness. They are death-bound, here immortal. There is littleness, here vastness. But one thing is, one added, that is forgotten. Where it is? Await discovery on our summit self. For discovery, not for invention. You have to reach there. It is actually sending a call to us. And what will be the change when we reach there? Unmeasured breadths and depths of being are ours. While you are reaching there, you will find yourself your breadth and depth that can be unmeasured. So again, sometimes we find, we keep reading, even when we beautifully, even when we fail to look into our souls, because this sadhana we know, to looking into the souls, discovering the soul, living in the soul, psychic. So that is, these are the factors we have to take care of here. Even when we fail to look into our souls or lie embedded in the earthly consciousness, constantly we keep standing and of course keep embedded, we stay embedded in the earthly consciousness. Still have we paths that grow towards the light. Still have we paths that grow towards the light. So here beautifully we'll read something, actually how this has been summarized, and beautifully it is written. We'll see a few lines. Sri Aurobindo quotes here, as Ashwapati stood on a high peak of existence, stood on a high peak of existence. That is a great thing. And he find still higher peaks came to his ken. Still higher keeps, the visions are there, peaks are there. As already we have known, Sri Aurobindo has quoted, when you cross one plateau, you will find number of plateaus are there on the top. For the vistas of the infinity are endless. Vistas of the infinity are endless. You can't find, you can't assimilate, even you can't measure, you can cover up, and you can't reach. And what man achieves by the way of the ascent is only a promise of greater conquest in store. When you explore, when you ascend, when you come up, when you climb up, you will find the promise of a greater conquest that is in the store. You have to go and find it. That is there. A lot of things are there. You have to reach there only. Ashwapati came to see and realize. It is his vision and it is realization that the present state of limitation and death. Here we are confined to our limitations. We are confined, and death is, we have taken it for the taken it for granted that death is the close of all human roads. But Sri Aurobindo Ashwapati finds it is not the not the reality. It is not the right thing, because and is not, death is not the permanent condition of the earth life. There is immortality. You have to exceed the death consciousness. You must not stay confined and stay limited to the death consciousness. You have to exceed it, and this death is not the permanent condition of earth life. State of freedom and immortality. When this death is not the permanent condition of the earth life, then what next is there? State of freedom and immortality. Two conditions are there. State of freedom and immortality await discovery by man. Discovery, not invention. Two things are there: immortality, and the second is freedom. That is awaiting you, awaiting every man. They have to go and reach it and gain it. Whether it is he is conscious or not, is moving. Evolution, the process of evolution, this cycle is moving up, and whether he is conscious or not, his being is steadily grows towards upwards to them in the stress of the evolutionary labor to which he is subject. Evolution, even if it is a slow process, even if you are knowing or not, if you are aware or unaware, that does not matter. Still then you are ascending little bit on the upward way. At a time man is aware of his growth. Sometimes you are aware that I am growing, something is going, something is pushing me up, and I am having a thrilling experience. Everything, that realization is there, but actually you don't know who and who's really that great hand who is actually pushing me up. At times he experiences himself the descent of the supramental light, power, and peace. Sometimes he is aware, he feels that some supernal light, power, and peace, three things are descending, and sees in his own ego-bound little life, sees his own ego-bound little life dissolves with the arrival of the light. There is a disappearance of the darkness. Like this, when three things are coming, supernal light, power, and peace, then the little ego-bound life dissolves. It has got no place permanently for him. We'll find couple of lines from Sri Aurobindo's Savitri. Of course, we'll see Sri Aurobindo quotes, in moments when the inner lamps are lit, inner, not the outer lamp, then the second condition, the life's cherished guests are left outside. Life's cherished guests, anger, this sex, this attachment, desire, like this. So when they are left outside, then our spirit sits alone and speaks to our gulps. That is a great thing. Actually, outer light, it attracts the bad things, but actually inner light replaces the bad things. Then a wider consciousness opens then its door. That is the main thing what we see, and of course we find. Sri Aurobindo rightly quotes here, we hear what mortal ears have never heard, we feel what earthly sense has never felt, we love what common hearts repel and dread, our minds hush to a bright omniscient. That is the feeling. If you are going on this track and you have got this type of feeling, naturally you are on the right track. Sri Aurobindo then quotes his in the process of this adventure, when he is moving up, Sri Aurobindo finds itself in a very interesting manner. He sees the secret things no words can speak. Secret things no words can be speak. It can't be expressed. It can't be understood. That is what. Say again, we can feel our very being seems to us questionable, our life a vague experiment, the soul a flickering light in a strange, ignorant world. Here, the originality is gone, that luminosity is gone, or his soul is actually hidden, like this we can feel. This earth is a very interesting description by the Lord. The earth is a brute mechanic accident, a net of death in which by chance we live. This is the real scenario we are yet to feel. When you can remember Kim Ascharjam, that question was put by the Jakhya to Yudhishthira, and the answer from Yudhishthira was Ahani ahani gachanti jamalaya jana gachanti, and those who are living behind, every day people keep going to the jamalaya, and those people who are staying on, they jibitum ichanti, they are interested, intending to live, and what more wonder or miracle can be expected from that one. Again, Sri Aurobindo quotes beautifully in his own terms, a mind unvisited by the illusion's gleam, a will expressive of soul's deity, a strength not forced to stumble by the speed. So you will gain a lot of things, a joy that attracts not sorrow, as you said. You will be spotless, you will be totally free, and of course you will proceed in your mission. Sri Aurobindo quotes sometimes what happens when actually our eyes are fixed on an external scenes. Our eyes are fixed on an external scenes. We are unable to look inside. We hear the crash of wheel, the crash of the wheel of circumstance. Everything is an explosion that is actually breaking down, and wonder at the hidden cause of things. Why it is happening? What is the cause? What is the root? That's what. And still in the course, if we could take this our spirit stand within, if we could take our spirit stand within, if we could hear the muffled diamond voice that is actually muffled, too seldom is the shadow of what must come. That is very difficult, because if you live in the soul, you will be spontaneously, you will be spotless, and you will have a look into the big things. Against here in the course of this the fate of this mortal man in his own terms, he were a struggling ignorance is his wisdom's mate, all contrariety. A struggling ignorance is his wisdom's mate. He waits to see the consequence of his acts. He waits to see the consequence of his acts. He waits to weigh the certitude of his thoughts. He knows not what he shall achieve or when. If something can be achieved at all, he is not aware, he is not knowing. Again, finally, he knows not whether at last he will survive. That survival is also is a question mark for him. And end like the mastodon and the sloth. These two big mammals, actually, these have been perished like your dinosaur from the earth. They were Latin American countries. They were found initially, and perish from the earth where he was king. He will find no existence. His name is in the index of the failing hope. He is ignorant of his high and splendid splendid fate. He is ignorant of the meaning of his life. Meaning of his life, high and splendid fate, he is totally ignorant. Only the immortals can, on the deathless heights, can achieve, can see. That is the thing, that is out of right thing. Now, we can find a letter in the process of description on contacting the psychic being. When you contact your psychic being, then your yoga starts. Psychic has to lead you, psychic has to come forward, and then only your yogic process sadhana will start. Sri Aurobindo quotes beautifully, a voice ill heard shall speak, the soul obey. A power into mind's inner chamber still, a power into mind's inner chamber still. A charm and sweetness open life's closed doors, and the beauty conquer the resisting world. Just imagine how the change will be, and it will be a forcible change, and forcibly things will come. Again, here in the course, the truth light capture nature by surprise. Truth light capture nature by surprise. A stealth of God compel the heart to bliss. You will never be in a agony. You have to change. And earth grow unexpectedly divine. You can't know when it is happening. In matter shall be lit the spirit's glow. In body and body kindled the sacred birth. Then what will happen? Night shall awake to the anthem of the stars, days become a happy pilgrim march. Our will then change in us. Our will, a force of the eternal's power, our the thought, the rays of a spiritual sun. Then everybody will know? No, a very few. A few shall see what none yet understands. God shall grow up while the wise men talk and sleep. For men shall not know the coming till its hour, and belief shall be not till the work is done. That is the lacuna, that is the problem. Man, they don't have the awareness, they don't know, they don't imagine, they don't have the realization that it is going to happen and it must happen and it is already happening. So against Sri Aurobindo quotes, man grows conscious of the vaster self in himself. Some people, some man like yourself, they are conscious of the vaster self in himself, which is not involved in the life movement, totally free, totally detached. It is working in its own royal way, but watches all from the base behind the veil of the nature of ignorance. Veil of the nature of the ignorance, standing behind that, actually watching all, conscious of all. There is a key to the riddle of existence. Here we can find the riddle, and the riddle of existence. There is a key, definitely. There is the fount of delight without which none could live. Fount of delight, that's what we have to look for and we have to search. Against here in the courts, many steps ahead. Without this perception, world existence appears to lack the meaning and the direction. If this perception is not there, if you don't have the realization, then this world existence, it will be having a lack of meaning and direction. No definite knowledge of its character is possible. So you will have to be conscious, aware. You must know. You must be able to understand what really is going on and what is really the truth. That's what you have to realize. Only the movements is seen as to be real, a movement carried on by the incessant urge from the within. So what is the rule? If you ask Sri Aurobindo, really what is the rule? There is no visible rule, nothing is there. Then what really will expect as so far these rules are concerned? Sri Aurobindo quotes, from inside outward is the rule. Every time this surrounding, actually it affects the system, but here sometimes feel the system is affecting the surrounding. How it is? Suppose example I'll give you. Suppose something very hot in the outside, so naturally you will stay confined in the closed room with pure fans and AC open. So when there is a little bit cold, naturally you will use your jacket and or some blanketed, you will get blanketed and stay back in inside. But sometimes suppose you burn a fire inside, that influence of the fire, it will actually affect the surroundings. The surrounding will feel something like dazzled and of course hot, like this. Every time wherever we see, we can find there is a lot of lacuna, lot of problems, strife, class, of course, inexperience, of course, very turmoil outside. But if you inside, so these are all superficial manners and externally we can see. So if we come inside, we will feel definitely there is a psychic fire burning in the heart center, and with that influence, this surrounding is bound to change. That's what we will know, urge from within. And yet the earth does not feel left alone in the labor. It is because this earth is blessed with the supernatures and the supreme's guidance and of course blessings. She senses and becomes aware of the mighty puissance in the cosmos, helping and drawing upwards by their very presence and the irresistible action. Man is not left alone. The world is not as usually seen, because the presence of the Divine Mother and of course their help and their actually outward pull, their very presence, their help, it is actually saving, it is actually carrying people in a upward manner. The earth mind seeks and aspires for the varieties of knowledge, power, and bliss. Things are there. This earth mind seeks and aspires. One is seeking and another is aspiring to the varieties of knowledge, power, and bliss which are which in the keeping of the gods above. because three things the gods above have kept for you, that is a variety of knowledge, power, and bliss, which however much they might appear to be to the reach of the terrestrial spirit toiling below. So these gods who have actually preserved knowledge, power, and bliss, that must be spread, and that must help, and that must actually usually normally that will be very much helpful to the toiling and suffering humankind. Terrestrial spirits toiling below, these are the most helpful and needful attitude that is kept by the gods from the top. Again, we'll like to read a few lines from Savitri. We must see. Sri Aurobindo quotes, a hyphen must connect matter and mind, the narrow isthmus of the ascending soul. We must renew the secret bond in things. That is what we have to do, and this will be abridged. Alpha and Omega in one sound, then shall the spirit and nature shall be what one. So that is the bridge, it has to be, that gulf, it has to be abridged. To and the ends of the mystic plan we see, we feel. The spirit's bare and absolute potency is born in the solitude of the thoughts of God. That's what, because we know soul is the spark of the divine, and it has to come out, and it has to be done. We find something like, while describing the immortals here in the quotes, they reckon not our virtue. These gods we have seen, and while of course we are describing them, they reckon not of our virtue or our sin and our sin. They bend not to the voices that implore. They hold no traffic error and its reign. They are guardians of the silence of the truth. They are keepers of the immutable decree. A deep surrender is their source of might. So again, still in the course, deathless, watching the works of death and chance, immobile, seeing the millenniums pass, untouched while the long map of Taphet unrolls. They look on our struggle with impartial eyes. Again, we'll find here in the course, yet a spiritual secret aid is there. Yet a spiritual secret aid is there when the tardy evolution's coils wind on. We find everything seems unsatisfactory, unworthy like this, and nature huge her high way through adamant, a divine intervention thrones above. When we feel everything is actually puzzled, everything actually enigmatic, so then only we find there is a spiritual secret aid is there. We find. See in the quotes here. He works through the fierce vicissitudes of our lives. He works through the hard with of a battle and toil. He works through our sins and sorrows and our tears. His knowledge overrules our nescience. His work is like this. This system of work is like this. When nothing we can see but drift and bell, a mighty guidance leads us still through all. Again, we'll find Sri Aurobindo's greatest line, a date is fixed in the calendar of the unknown, the anniversary of the birth sublime. After a few lines we can see, we have to must see in the course. He is the maker and the world he made. He is the vision and he is the seer. He is himself the actor and the act. He is himself the knower and the known. He is himself the dreamer and the dream. And Sri Aurobindo quotes beautifully on while describing Purusha and Prakriti, Brahma and Maya, Shiva and Shakti, he and she. There are two who are one and play in many worlds. There are two who are one at the secrets of all power. There are two who are one at the mights and rights in things. Again, we are going forward towards Sri Aurobindo's glorious explanation, because our vision is to know to stay on the surface and to analyze, to go for the summarization of Savitri here. In fact, Sri Aurobindo quotes, in fact, it is the action of these powers from behind the surface, action of these powers from behind the surface of life that determines the course of outer circumstances. Staying behind the veil, they are actually observing, of course, they are actually carrying out all our future. course of action. Man is not normally aware of these inner workings of himself and the cosmos. Not aware because he is not having that knowledge, that awareness, that of course there in freedom to know. But the impulsion from within and the lead from above, impulsion from within and the lead from the above goes on till the purpose of the earth movement is achieved. Two things are simultaneously. One, impulse from within. Second thing, the lead from above. It is actually help. It is these are actually in collaboratively. They collaborate and work so that this purpose can be this purpose of earth movement can be achieved till the earth life flowers into a divine experience. So this is will be going on. There is no doubt of it. Again, after finding the Purush and he and she, this is a great discussion and a great description, of course, and Sri Aurobindo quotes the spirit, the innumerable one. He had left behind his lone eternity. He is an endless birth in endless time. Her finite multitude in infinite place. Again, about the descent of the avatar, we know Sri Aurobindo quotes how he is coming actually. All knowing, he accepts our darkened stage. All knowing, he accepts our darkened stage. Divine wears the shape of animal and man. Divine, but here say wears the shape of animal and man, like Narasingha, like human being, Rama, Krishna, and all. Eternal, he ascends to fate and time. Naturally, the exile of Rama you can remember, and of course you can find Krishna's exile from here to the Ajodhya, Mathura, and all you have seen. Immortal, dallies with immortality, not to die, they are immortal, but dallies here consents to yes. We can see Maramandala Dehavai. So whoever have taken birth, they must meet their pathetic end. I mean, they must die. All conscious ventured into ignorance, all blissful, bore to be insensible, incarnate in a world of strife and pain, strife and pain. They have left behind their white sincerity, neutrality, immortality, eternity, of course, divinity, and being wrapped up, they have come down into this glorious and dangerous world. Sri Aurobindo quotes here, how is they are coming? The absolute, the perfect, the alone has called out of the silence his mute force. He has called out of silence his mute force. They have come down. Again, space is himself and time is only he. Again, here in the course, the absolute, the perfect, the immune, one who is in us as our secret self, our mask of imperfection, as he has assumed. He has made this tenement of place his own, taken all these things. Sri Aurobindo quotes here actually what is really our identity, how actually we know ourselves. We know our identity is something like this. My father's name is that. My house address is something like this. I am working or job holder in such and such position. But thing is, real identity is there. We are sons of God and must be even as He. His human portion we must grow divine. Our life is a paradox. That is what the secret thing. Our life is a paradox with God for key. Because how we are related to God, we are the sons of God. Just in the course again, this transfiguration is ours due to heaven. A mutual debt binds earth to the supreme. Because his nature we must put on as he put ours, because we have forgotten our own identity. That's why we are suffering in the being baffled in the hard world of toil and suffering and of course helplessness. Sri Aurobindo again quotes beautifully in his, he is the adventurer and the mariner on a secret inner route without bourne. He is the adventurer and the cosmologist on a magic arts obscure geography. Here we can find Sri Aurobindo beautifully because he in a petty coastal traffic piles his pay doled out from port to neighboring port. This is the journey, this is the adventure. Earth's border recede and the terrestrial air hangs round him no longer in his translucent veil. He has crossed the finite immortal thought and hope because he is the mariner, he is the adventurer and the cosmologist. And of course, next page we can find The present state of the evolving consciousness on earth is intermediate, it is not final. We know man is a transitional being, a connecting link between the demigod and the beast. It marks a stage that he is moved away from the original inconscience at the base. From the original inconscience at the base, he has actually crossed over. He is moved away. But yet, far from the plenary super conscience at the summit of existence into which he is growing, he has to grow. Here, from the inconscience, he has moved a little bit ahead, little step ahead, but actually the plenary of the super conscience at the summit of existence where he has to really move. Consequently, all the operations of this consciousness as imperfect, because perfection yet to come, that luminous top yet to reach, and this voyage will never cease. However, there is a constant pressure of this consciousness, constant pressure and constant urge to develop and expand from both the ends of existence, material nature and spiritual being. Material nature and spiritual being, there is a urge, there is a compulsion, there is a pressure to move on. And of course, this evolution is going on, and this evolutionary process is going on, but it is too slow. Sri Aurobindo finally quotes here beautifully: through all the vicissitudes of life, there is a light that leads, a might that pulls, a bliss that sustains. Beautiful quotation. Through all these vicissitudes of the lives, so contrariety, duality, many things you find, but still there is a light that leads, a might that pulls, a bliss that sustains. The will of the creative Godhead works at every moment of time, at every level of the world existence towards the destined manifestation. So, guidance of the divine light, pull of the divine might, and of course sustenance of the divine bliss, it is there. So will of the creative Godhead works at each moment of time, each moment of time it works. At every level of the world existence, it works. For what it is moving, it is pulling us towards our destined manifestation of the divine in the terrestrial universe. So finally, we are going to, towards our conclusion, we will find what Sri Aurobindo really writes here in his own letters. Sri Aurobindo quotes beautifully. Here, for this he has left his white infinity. For this, already we have discussed, for this he has left his white infinity and laid on the spirit the burden of the flesh. That is what, for that he is coming, he is suffering. The divine, we know, suffers in a human, eternal suffers in a human form. He has signed salvation's testament with his own blood. This is the divine, great divine sacrifice we have seen, and laid is on the spirit the burden of the flesh. The Godhead seed might flower in mindless space. He has come out. He is actually suffering. He is actually representing the entire humanity, suffering and entire suffering humanity, being wrapped up, leaving behind his white infinity. Here he is working so that the struggling world and suffering humanity must rise to its potential source, actually destiny, where they will reach their immortal self, and of course they will be elevated in a supernal timelessness to their glorified destiny. Bande Matram.